All right. It's Monday night. Now, if I only had the Monday night football theme, right? Do 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 do. All right. So there's no Frank Gifford. There's no Dandy Don. There's no Howard Cosell. And yeah, I dated myself pretty severely there. But I think who's doing it now? Al Michaels and I don't know who else is doing it. Chris Collinsworth, I guess. Anyway, uh, so a couple of weeks ago, me and Big Daddy J, we sat down here and we did a football chat number one. Um, we talked about the first week zero, week one games, which we'll recap real briefly. And then, yeah, I thought we did. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun and talked a little trash, a little SEC trash. He would like to have been here tonight, except that his wife is not feeling is feeling underneath the weather, and this is probably the only night I am able to do this because I have three shows this week with Eight Questions with. So today's my one day I can actually do football talk. So because I wanted to wait till after the college games are over, and then we talk because this weekend's also the first weekend of the NFL season. So we're gonna have to figure out what we're gonna do as far as finding a time slot to do this. Um, So what we'll do is we're gonna just go over recap real briefly what's going on with how Justin and I did some of the games that we talked about. Um, yeah, it's a hoot. I know a lot of people aren't into the football, but we are. So me and the Cheetah, we like football. So we're gonna just talk. All right, so this is week one of the NCAA football season. Officially happened this past weekend, and needless to say, the big story for me anyway is wow, the rise of the SCC, FCS, FCS teams. Um, they're the team one AA teams. Uh, Boy, they had a pretty interesting weekend. This past weekend. There were several noticeable upsets, including Montana upsetting 20th ranked Washington 13-7. That was a big shocker. I'm sure right now Washington's sitting over there hiding their head in the cone of shame. Um, but really, should they? Um, if you watch Montana during the spring games, they played two spring games. You can see that team had a lot of talent, a lot of talent. Um, they're not your average FCS team. They have some skills, and a lot of these teams do. I mean, they're very well coached. UC Davis upset Tulsa, 1917. Formerly coached, or they're coached by Dan Hawkins, who coached Boise State at one time. Um, the Colorado State lost to South Dakota, and that game was not at South Dakota State, and that game was not even close. Um, and Colorado State's head coach actually called this game before they played it. He must have saw something that on film that nobody else did because he called this game. He said that his team was going to probably take a beating. This is he says this is the best. Or he said this is the best FCS team he's ever seen. Now you got to stop and think about that for a second because that's including James Madison and North Dakota State, both major powers. And he said this team is the best team that he's ever watched on the FCS level. So he had an inkling that his team was going to be in for a long afternoon, and they were. They lost 42-23 at home, and I'm sure there was a lot of boo birds out for that. Colorado State was actually expected to make some little bit of noise this year. You know, they're going to be like, yeah, they're going to be maybe not world beaters, but they were going to, make some noise. Well, they did, but it was the wrong kind of noise. Um, so yeah, I think that was the big for me. That was the big storyline. Of course, looking over the scores, there's some scores you saw that were what you expected. Ohio State struggled with Minnesota for a half before they turned on the juice in the second half and one going away. Coastal Carolina blew up the Citadel. Utah actually struggled with Weber State for a little bit. A lot of these teams, they beat their lower division schools, but they weren't blowing them out early. It took them until the late third and fourth quarters before their superior depth charts come into play, and that's where a lot of these teams just pull away. They pull away from teams like Weber State or Southern Utah because they just have more better athletes. Um, that's it. I mean, execution wise, skill level wise, very similar. It's just that they just have more soldiers. Wow. Okay. Let's see. So, let's see. Big upsets happened. There's some big upsets. Of course, North Carolina State falling to Virginia Tech. I'm sure Justin Fuentes, his seat became very warm to rather back to chill. It's a great win. Very Virginia Tech. Just enough offense and yeah, we could talk about that. Yes. So a couple of weeks ago, there was a high school team. There was a high school football game on ESPN between IMG, based out of Florida, and a team supposedly based out of Columbus, Ohio, called Brother Sycamore, Bishop Sycamore. And Bishop Sycamore basically was just completely 100% a fraud program. There is no school, there's no classes, there's no nothing. Um, this game was made on by through a third party called Paragon, which, for the love of God, I just it really smacks. It tells you everything you need to know about high school football, why it's so wrong right now. Um, Before, you just coach, you just go and you schedule teams within your area, and you play those teams in the area. But now, due to the fact that ESPN is putting so much money into high school football, now they're getting games on TV. Well, somehow, some way, these guys managed to weasel their way onto to playing IGM on ESPN. Um, and ESPN did not vet these teams out at all. It did not vet Bishop Sycamore. They're a brand new program, supposedly only like the third year or whatnot. There's supposed to be red flags all over the place. You're supposed to go and do your diligence, like how long's the school been around, any notable alumni, what do you know about the coach, what are the traditions, all that stuff. You can do that with IGM, but you couldn't do that with Bishop Sycamore. Um, so yeah, it was absolutely a travesty. You could tell within the first 5 plays that this other team had no idea what they were doing. They were no match for IMG. And then you find out that they played a football game 3 days before. They played a full regulation game 3 days before they played IMG, which has the level uh, that could probably take on and beat most Division III schools. They could probably beat most Division college teams. That's how much talent is on IMG. Um, so it was a complete fraud. Um, their coach, the coach wrote bad checks. He's wanted for that. There's just no school. They took him to a library once. There's allegations that a lot of the players are older than what they appear to be. But this is not the first time this has happened. In fact, this happened on the college level, and there's a fraudster down in the South who's done that. He calls his school College of Faith. He does this quite a bit. He puts together a team. They go play. They get some money, and the kids get hurt. They're no match for anybody. There's just absolutely, it's horrific. I dare say, honestly, and I know I might get some blowback for this, but I cannot think of a more racist thing than what these coaches have done with this school. They've exploited these young men, mostly African Americans, and the coaches and coaches. They're African American too, and they exploited these kids. They've lied to them. They've cheated them. There's no education for them, um, and basically what they've done is just but the coaches are getting paid. Oh, you can rest assured about that. Uh, they get paid, um, but these kids aren't getting anything. There's no food. A couple of their kids were interviewed on news stations, and they said that there was no food for them to eat. They were actually going out, and they would have to basically steal to eat because they had no money. Now, how terrible is that? Here, these kids are being subjected to that. Now, you know what would happen if these kids get caught too, right? There you go, another young black person, one wave crime wave, right? But they're being exploited. They have been exploited in the worst possible way. No education. I can handle the not skilled on the football field. I get that, but denying them an education. Some of the players were in the 20s. I guess the quarterback that started for the game, he's like 20 years old. He's supposedly graduated already, and so and my question is this about this thing, and I have not yet seen it covered. Is where the hell were the parents for this? I'd like to talk to these parents. How could you just send your kid to a school? I mean, seriously, how could you just send your kid? I mean, there's no school. There's no school. When you sign up your kid, you go to a school. You go. You want to go check out the buildings. You want to talk to the staff. You want to talk to the teaching staff. You want to see what kind of curriculum they're teaching. I just can't imagine what these parents are doing. They're what do they think they were? Just dropping off at daycare center? It's absolutely irresponsible, all the way around. The parents are just as equally guilty as the two fraudsters running the program, and ESPN for exploiting the high school game, setting up these games and broadcasting them. They should not be in the high school business. This is terrible. I mean, you see the high school now. You go now to especially basketball. Basketball is way beyond driven. But for football, you look at some of these schools' schedules. Now, remember, you're talking kids, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, seniors. They're supposed to be carrying they're supposed to be carrying they're supposed to be going to class. They're supposed to be carrying a class load, and yet you got these kids who are they're being flown all over the country to play. Let's take my team here in California. Let's take my bunch of kids in high school and fly them down to Florida to play down in Florida, and expect them to actually sit there and do their schoolwork and get passing grades. Now, you can't tell me there's not some shenanigans going on there. You just can't tell me that. High school football teams and basketball teams do not need to travel. They just don't. They don't need to travel at all. They can play within their state. If and the fact of the matter is, allowing kids to just basically go and attend most schools that they want to is just damaging them. The NCAA is now starting to do that now. They've basically opened up the transfer rules, whereas you don't have to sit out a year. You can, if you get beat out, you can just pick up and go to another school without any repercussions. And that's not including. I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, every school teaches things differently. So if you're not going to compete, if you're not going to win the quarterback job at Kentucky, you can just get up there and say, I want to go transfer to Kentucky State or Alabama. You can just pick up and go and sit out and pick up right where you left off. That doesn't happen. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. That's exactly where it was. Each school gets a paid amount of money. Sure, I'm sure each school, IMG, and Bishop Sycamore, I'm sure they got paid probably 50 grand from ESPN for do the show, to do the game. I'm sure. I'm sure if they asked the coach where's the money at, he would not be able to produce it. Yeah, it's a real sickening. It's really sickening. Um, the college and high school sports, they're such a it's so broken now. I mean, I like watching the games, but the system is broken. It's beyond broken. Um, yeah, but that's not the first time this has happened. And if you look up I'll put in a couple of links after I get done with this with the show. Give you a couple of links down below, some other schools that have this has happened to. The College of Faith one is definitely the biggest one. That's ridiculous. Um, there's been some real shady schools out there that are just like religious schools, with no accreditation from any recognized organization. We're a Bible school, so we're going to teach you the Bible. Oh yeah, there's not a lot of jobs out there looking for that. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. And some of these schools that schedule these teams, they're responsible. They have to be responsible for their own selves. IMG, shame on them. They're just as bad. They're just as bad. I mean, supposedly they had played Bishop Sycamore before and blew them out by 55 points. So again, why are you scheduling this team? Why are you scheduling a team that's not very good all the way in Ohio? Hell, you can stay right there in your own backyard and find a school to play you in Florida and probably get a better game out of it. Yeah, that Bishop Sycamore thing, that was really disgusting. Uh let's see. Going back to college ball, something more fun here. Some of the bigger teams did win as expected, but not they won as expected, but not in the manner that they were expected to win. Alabama did blow up Miami of Florida, but Oklahoma had a hell of a game against Tulane. Really exciting game. I think Oklahoma took they took the pedal off they took the pedal off, and they were up big at halftime. They were up 37-14. They thought they had the game won. They took it off, and Tulane had a chance to win. They had a chance to upset them before falling by 5. So Georgia and Clemson had a good old fashioned defensive battle. Georgia won by 7. Texas A&M had no problem with Kent State. Kent State's offense is going to really thrive in the MAC, but against SEC defense, not so much. So yeah, they held them tough though. The first half was very tough. They played very well. They held Texas A&M they were within 7 at halftime. So, but again, second half is always the difference between these two schools. You can always tell the big schools from the little schools basically on the second half. You'll see a lot of the bigger teams just pull away. Iowa State proved that they're way overrated. They're gonna get their ass beat by Iowa this weekend. Cincinnati easily beat Miami, Ohio. Oregon and Fresno State, much closer game than expected. Fresno State had their chances. One of the 3 games that me and Justin talked about are 3 games. He picked Wisconsin to beat Penn State. I picked Penn State, so I won that one. But of course, I lost the other one, which was USC and San Jose State. And again, it's a broken record, but the fourth quarter is a telltale sign. San Jose State was in it. They're down 13-7 heading into the fourth quarter, and then they just faded. UCLA upset LSU. Like I said, Iowa destroyed Indiana. Indiana's overrated. They're overrated. They're not going to be anywhere what they were last year. They're just not. Um, Texas beat Louisiana. Good game too. Um, probably not as bad as the final score, 38-18, but still very impressive start for Steve Sarkisian for winning his first game. And then Notre Dame had to hold on for dear life to beat Florida State in on yesterday. So that was the top 25. But we'll talk about week two. So there's some good slate of games coming up on week two. Of course, all eyes will be on in Carolina as Kansas 1-0 Kansas visits the 1-0 Coastal Carolina. So Kansas under new coach Lance Leopold actually hung on and to beat South Dakota 17-14. They scored with like a minute and a half left. They actually upset South Dakota 17-14. The fans stormed the field. So I think reality will set in to Kansas this week because I think Coastal Carolina is going to probably they'll blow them out of the water. So that's going to be on Friday night. Saturday, we get kicked off early with number 11 ranked Oregon visiting Ohio State. Wow. Now, we'll find out both is I think right now, I don't think Oregon's necessarily overrated. I think Fresno State was a lot better than people expected to be. And same thing with Ohio State. I don't think I saw some of their fans were dooming and glooming Ohio State. You know, they're in trouble. They're in trouble. No, not really. They took care of business against Minnesota. And they did it. They pulled away. They won by 14, 45-31. It's probably a little bit higher scoring game than you expect. I mean, 31 points is a lot for Ohio State to give up, but Minnesota is not a bad team. They're well coached by PJ Fleck. Of course, it looks like their defense. We don't know how good their defense really is because Ohio State is just an elite team. You don't get to face a team like Ohio State every week. So is Minnesota? I think it's a little bit of Ohio State is not as bad as people think, and Minnesota is probably not as good. It's probably right there in the middle. I think we'll tell this weekend. I can't see Ohio State beating Oregon. I do see that. I do see Ohio State beating Oregon. Oregon lost their one of the big star players on defense. He hurt his foot. He got rolled up. Really nasty injury. Don't expect him to play this week. So he's a horse too. He's definitely a first round draft prospect, NFL prospect. So next we have Florida 1-0 visiting South Florida. And that game will be on ABC. Florida is 13th ranked. That will be no game at all. Florida will go in there and crush them. Definitely see them beating them by 40. South Florida is really bad, real bad. I didn't know how bad South Florida really was till they got beat by North Carolina State by 45. They hadn't looked that bad since the program started. So yeah, Florida is going to go out there and just crush them. Let's see, Toledo at Notre Dame. Wow. That's a tough one because Toledo, they won their game, but they got a layup. Notre Dame got in a really tough physical game against Florida State. They're going to be banged up. Toledo has the team and the coach to potential for an upset here. It really depends how they play the first quarter. If Toledo can come out there and establish some sort of offense in the first quarter, they have a fighting chance. If Notre Dame comes out there and they get ahead, 14 points, Toledo's they're not going to be able to come back from that. Going to be a good game though. I think this is a bit of a trap game. This is not a game that if you're Notre Dame that you want. This is not a team if you're Notre Dame you want to see after after playing a team like Florida State. You wish you would have gotten somebody just a little bit more softer. Someone like someone like a Bowling Green or something like that. Something even worse. New Mexico State or something like that. But Toledo is one of the better teams in the MAC and has been for years. This will be a tough time. This is not going to be easy. Next up we have oh yeah, let me go back to Friday real quick. I forgot a couple of games on Friday. So on Friday we have North Carolina A&T. They that's going to be tough. They're playing Duke. Duke went on the road to Charlotte and lost. Crazy ending of that game too. North Carolina A&T has been a bit of a giant beater. They have beaten East Carolina. They pulled off a few Division I upsets. But I think they can beat Duke. In fact, I'm calling that now. I'm going to call that North Carolina A&T can and will beat Duke. I think Duke, for some reason, seems to be really struggling underneath their coach, and I'm not sure if they can really find their way out of it. He's been there for a while. Duke is a place that's really, really hard to coach in. They get to a certain plateau, and then a certain peak, and then that's it as far as they're going to go. And I don't care who's coaching it. I don't care if Nick Saban's coaching Duke. It's only going to get to a certain level, and then it's going to flatten out, and you're never going to get any better than that. The academics play a big part of that. So if you're going to Duke, you're not going to Duke to become an NFL player. You're going to Duke to get a degree. Next up, we have North Dakota at Utah State. Both teams are 1-0. North Dakota, they beat Idaho State, and Utah State upset Washington State. So Utah State cannot be feeling too good about themselves because North Dakota is one of the better teams in the FCS. If they come in there taking these guys lightly, and they're going to end up with a big L. They need to come in there and take care of business. And I call for a Utah State to win. Next up is UTEP 2-0. Wow. Gee, did I read that right? Hold on, let me double check on that. Yeah, UTEP is 2-0. Wow. Texas El Paso 2-0. I wonder when's the last time that happened. They're coming to play Boise State at Boise. Boise State went down and lost by 5 against Central Florida. Tough game. But hey, that's Boise State. Anywhere, anyone, anytime. They went down to Central Florida. Two of the best unsung FBS teams. Went nose to nose. And now Boise State returns home to play UTEP. No problem. UTEP might hang around for a quarter, but Boise State is going to be angry. They're going to have their home fans there, and they're going to beat the brakes off of UTEP. Okay, back to Saturday. Gosh, there's some early games going on here. 11 o'clock, Illinois at Virginia. Illinois is 1-1. All that love and all that praise they got for beating Nebraska in week 0. Brett Bielema's got the boys back. They're going to be doing really well. They beat Nebraska. All that goodwill that they built up all got kicked out the window when Texas San Antonio went up to Illinois and beat them and hung 37 points on them to boot. So Illinois is a team that's looking for identity. They don't have it. They're going to come down and play Virginia. Virginia looked really strong and beating William and Mary. So I do see Virginia taking care of business and pretty much wiping out Illinois here. See, Western Kentucky at 1-0, at Army 1-0. Home field advantage is going to be for Army. I like them to beat Western Kentucky. It's going to be a dogfight, though. Will not be easy. So I do see Army pulling off the win. The next game is going to be a little tricky. You got Virginia Military Institute, VMI, at Kent State. Now, normally, in normal years, this would be, even for a team as bad as Kent State is, it still would be their one win. You know, if you're going to look at their schedule and you see VMI on there, you're gonna there you go. You circle that and say that's the one win that Kent State's going to get. But VMI has actually been playing some really good football the last couple of years. Their coach is probably going to be. I was actually surprised their coach wasn't a commodity this year. Target for a bigger school, but I see that they probably will. I see teams coming after him after this year. They're 1-0. They're facing a Kent State team that's at home, but really probably beaten up from the game against Texas A&M. VMI has a real legitimate shot of winning this game. Kent State's offense, if it gets back up to being, gets back to being fast flash, yes, it could. It should win against VMI. But I'm calling for the upset here. I'm going to call for the upset. I'm going to call for Nehemiah to come in there and take it to Kent State in a very high-scoring game. Okay, next up we have Alabama State at Auburn. Oh, that's just embarrassing. That's just embarrassing. I don't know who scheduled that, but whoever scheduled that should have been shot. That's embarrassing. That's like a high school team against Auburn. That's not even worth talking about. South Carolina at East Carolina. South Carolina 1-0, East Carolina 0-1. East Carolina did not look that good. South Carolina, they played Eastern Illinois, so we really don't know how good they look. This will be their first real test. On paper, South Carolina is supposed to win this, but we'll see. It'll be much closer. It won't be a 46-0 game. South Carolina should win, but I don't know. Yeah, I can see East Carolina coming up there and pulling and beating the Gamecocks. Well, it's going to be interesting. All right. Next we have Pitt at 1-0 at Tennessee at 1-0. Both teams play cupcakes. Tennessee pounded Bowling Green by 32, and Pitt wiped out Massachusetts by 44. So this is like basically their first game. Wow, it's hard to say. It's hard to say who's gonna win this one. I'm gonna go with Pitt. I think I was a little bit more impressed with Pitt win against UMass than I was Tennessee versus Bowling Green. Bowling Green is the bottom 5 team this year. They might not even win a game this year. They're pretty bad. So, but I think UMass is on paper is a slightly better team. So I think Pitt probably got the better of the 2 wins, and I think that'll carry over against Tennessee. Kennesaw State 1-0 versus Georgia Tech 0-1. So, wow. Now, before the beginning of the season, I would have circled one of this game here as an opportunity for an FCS team to upset an ACC team. I would have actually called Kennesaw State to upset Georgia Tech, but Kennesaw State did not look good at all against Division II Reinhardt at all. They looked terrible. They won the game, but they looked really bad in doing it. Whereas Georgia Tech, they lost to Northern Illinois, who has decided to come out and play this year after going 0-6 last year. Northern Illinois came out there and upset them. Their coach went for a 2-point conversion and got it, and played for the win and got it, and they beat Georgia Tech at their own game. I see Georgia Tech coming back and blasting the shit out of Kennesaw State. Not going to be close. They're going to be angry. They're going to be focused, and I'll see them winning by at least 28. I think Kennesaw State probably still has a decent team, but not as good as the last 3 or 4 years. Last 3 or 4 years, they had a really good team, and but this year seems to be lacking a little bit. Okay, next we have Norfolk State 0-1 against Wake Forest 1-0. Yeah, not much really to say about that game there. Wake Forest easy. Michigan State, Youngstown State. Michigan State will take care of business. They looked really strong against Northwestern, a game that many had Northwestern favored to win. Michigan State came up there and basically dominated them. Run game was massive. They had a tailback come out and rush for 264 yards, 4 touchdowns. Yeah. Will he be able to do that against Youngstown State? Oh, yeah. So look for Michigan State to go 2-0. Miami of Ohio against Minnesota. Yeah, Minnesota will blow them up. Miami, Ohio is just not in the class as Minnesota, just as they weren't in the class of Cincinnati last week. Next game, Indiana State at Northwestern. Indiana State won last week, beating. Actually, they beat Eastern Illinois, but they're not going to be able to handle Northwestern. Northwestern again is going to be really upset, really pissed off. I can see them just once they get on, they'll just keep running. Though Indiana State has potential, it does. It could be better than I suspected, but I think Northwestern under the Pat Fitzgerald will be ready to play. All right. Next we have Tulsa at Oklahoma State. Both teams are really disappointing. Tulsa losing to UC Davis. Oklahoma State fighting to beat Missouri State. Not good games from either school. This is looking like a toilet bowl game. I do think Oklahoma State will have enough to take care of business. Tulsa's not very good this year. Next we have Morgan State at Tulane. Morgan State 0-1, Tulane 0-1. Listen, Tulane went to war with Oklahoma, lost by 5. You really think Morgan State's going to be anywhere and going to be able to challenge them at all? No, neither did I. Next, we have the very tough defensive, 2 very strong defensive teams. Wyoming, Northern Illinois, both are 1-0. But I'm liking Northern Illinois. They played a much tougher opponent in Georgia Tech, whereas Wyoming was very lucky to get out of the way of Montana State. So yeah, I see Wyoming hanging tough with this, and it could be a very tight, who has the ball last, whoever has the ball last and kicks the field goal might win. But I think Northern Illinois is going to have a little bit more offense than that, so I can see them pulling away, winning by 10 to 14 points. Middle Tennessee 1-0 against Virginia Tech 1-0. The rankings have not come out as I'm doing this show here, but I do believe by tomorrow that Virginia Tech will be rated. They'll be probably ranked about 25th. That always happens when you beat a preseason darling. Virginia Tech will be ranked. So will UCLA. This could be a tough game. Whereas yes, Virginia Tech did win against North Carolina, but they really didn't show a whole hell of a lot of offense in doing so. So Middle Tennessee has a puncher's chance here if they can move the ball a little bit and force Virginia Tech to score. Um, could be an interesting game. It could be the upsetter gets the upset. Next up, we have a very interesting game. We have Rutgers 1-0 against Syracuse, who's 1-0. This is going to be an interesting game. Rutgers blew up Temple, blew them up big. Did not see that coming. I saw them beating Temple, but I didn't see them blowing them out. But they did. Chicano is going to be having them. No doubt they're gonna if they get a chance to run up the score, they're gonna run it up. Syracuse, um, they were very impressive too. They went on the road to Ohio and beat the Bobcats by 20. Um, I I think if Frank Solich is there, I think Ohio wins. But since he retired, they have a new coach, new systems. New probably because I'm sure the new coach wants to put his own wrinkle into it. But it was still a pretty impressive win by Syracuse. I was really impressed. 20 wins. I mean, 20 points at Ohio is not to be sneezed at. Ohio is a good, strong program. Um, they win anywhere between 7 to 9 games every year. They're decent, and for Syracuse to walk in their own backyard and have their way with them. So this is gonna be a good game. This is gonna be a good one. But I'm gonna call for Rutgers to win this game. I think they're gonna upset Syracuse. I think Rutgers is really going to try to establish themselves in the Big Ten this year. I think they're tired of it. I think they're tired of being seen as a doormat. They're tired they're tired of that, and they want some respect. And I think that's what they're really going to be looking for. The recruiting's off the chain for them. They're getting some really good recruits. Blowing Syracuse out would really help a lot in the New York area. So Kane 0-1 and Ohio 0-1. Ohio will rebound and blow out the Dukes. Purdue at UConn. Randy Edsall resigned today. As we're doing the show, he resigned. They lost to Fresno State in week 0, 45-0. Came home for the home opener against FCS Holy Cross and lost to them 38-28. And Randy Edsall said he was going to retire at the end of the year. The administration of UConn said, "Hey, why wait? Why wait? Let's get a new coach in there so we can start the recruiting process. So we don't lose the whole year recruiting." So they showed him the door. And so there'll be a new interim coach coming in. Purdue is 1-0. They beat Oregon State. I don't see any problem at all with Purdue. Purdue will move up to 2-0, and UConn will fall to 0-3. Robert Morris at Central Michigan. Central Michigan will win that. They actually gave Missouri a good test, only lost by 10. So next up is a trap game, another trap game. It's going to be Georgia, who beat Clemson by 7 and showed no offense in doing so, playing against Alabama and Birmingham, who showed a defense, another tough defense in shutting out Jacksonville State. Now, I know Jacksonville State is no Georgia, but UAB is no Jacksonville State either. This is going to be a little bit of a tough game. It has the potential to be in a dogfight, or Georgia could actually break loose and show off some offense behind JT Daniels and get busy and put up some points. Somehow, I don't think this is going to be one of those games. I think it's going to be a tight defensive game. If UAB can actually hang around, get to the fourth quarter, anything can happen. They don't want to get behind going into the fourth quarter. You don't want to be having to fight to catch up going into the fourth. You will definitely tire yourself out. And but but I'm still calling for Georgia to win this game. Texas A&M at Colorado. Both, I think Texas A&M will take care of business, not a problem. They're favored by 17. That sounds about right. Murray State 1-0 at Cincinnati. Cincinnati gets a layup, another layup. This is the second in a row after Miami, Ohio. They get Murray State. They'll win that easily. Ball State 1-0 at Penn State 1-0. Ball State was off last week, but I don't think they don't have the team to compete with Penn State. Penn State is going to unleash their offense, and they'll probably end up taking care of business. Georgia Southern at Florida Atlantic. I like Georgia Southern. I like the run game. When they play against a team at their level, they tend to really dominate. Georgia Southern, they had a tough fight against Georgia State. Yeah. Boston College at UMass. Boston College easily right on over, not a problem. Another intriguing game here is Buffalo 1-0 at Nebraska 1-1. Don't really know on paper about this one. Could be Buffalo won by 62 over a very weak Wagner team, but Nebraska did the same thing over not a very over an okay Fordham team. Both championship subdivision teams. So don't really know how good either team really is. Are they really that good or that bad? Maybe Nebraska wins by 7, but I'm calling for the upset here. I'm calling for Buffalo to beat Nebraska here. And if they beat Nebraska and they beat them like more than 10 points, whew, that seat that Scott Frost is on is going to be white hot. He'll need he'll need to be put in the burn ward because that seat is going to be really, really warm, real quick. Next, California at TCU. Cal lost to Nevada. The team that's favored in the Mountain West this year. They had a quick 14-0 lead against Nevada, and Nevada came back and beat them by 5. So, and TCU, good team, solid. TCU should win at home. Hey, how you doing, Professor? Just doing a little football talk. Just ranting and raving. Something I always wanted to do when I got a YouTube channel. I said, I want to do I just want to do football talk. So I'm just calling out the college games. I know a lot of people don't do college games. I do. I'm fascinated by it. A lot of people just do they do the pro teams only. We're gonna do pro too as soon as we get done with this. We're getting there. Wow, that's nice. Yeah, watch out for the sharks for sure. Yeah, tonight is different. Yeah, this is the part of like I said, a lot of people. I like football. I like college football, so I get in here and talk a little bit. My buddy Justin would have been here, except that his wife wasn't feeling too good. So, and this is the only night I'm able to do this. I'm not going to be able to do this during the rest of the week. So, I just want to get in here and do it now. If either one of you guys are football fans, chip in with your favorite team. Let's see. Next up on our schedule, we have Temple at Akron. Ooh, yeah, that's a toilet bowl game. Temple should win. Air Force at Navy. I'm taking Air Force. Mercer at Alabama. I don't know why Alabama's playing Mercer. It's a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. I don't know why they're playing an FCS school. They have no business at all playing an FCS team at all. With the talent they have and everything else, but they do. So Alabama will win this probably by 50. South Alabama at Bowling Green. South Alabama will take that game pretty easy. Bowling Green is, like I said, is the bottom of the bucket. Next, we have Iowa at Iowa State. Iowa State is horribly overrated, overrated at 7. Iowa was going to come in here and beat the brakes off them. Not a problem. Okay. Clemson 0-1 at South Carolina State. Again, Clemson has no business at all playing a team like South Carolina State. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hey, Hops. Yeah, I know a lot of people aren't into the football thing. I understand. I'm just glad you guys are here. South Carolina State should not be playing Clemson. It's just an absolute disgrace. The fact that they're playing such a weak team, it's just beyond. I don't know why. It's Long Island University at West Virginia. See the same thing above. Long Island has no business playing a team like West Virginia. They should have waited a couple more. They just started their program. They just went to FCS level like 3 years ago. So they still don't have the kids or the size to match up against a team like West Virginia. And it's just it's not smart. I don't know why Long Island's athletic director scheduled this game. They're not ready for it. There could be a lot of injuries here. Definitely a mismatch in size. Hey, Kevin, how are you, sir? Good, thank you so much. Yeah, we gave you a shout out yesterday on the midnight hour. We always say thank you for letting us. We always say thank you for letting us share our streams out on Reddit. I see the Reddit group's almost up to 200 too. I'm gonna have to share that out more. Illinois State at 1-0 at Western Michigan, 0-1. Now this is a perplexing team. So Western Michigan went to Michigan and got blown up by 33. It's so weird because Western Michigan has a much better team than that. But whenever they play Michigan, it's almost like someone has kidnapped the whole team and taken them out back somewhere and held them underneath gunpoint and sent in imposters. Western Michigan, for some reason, they never play well at Michigan. Yeah, and honestly, Hobbs, Western Michigan has had enough good teams to actually have gone in and upset Michigan, but for some reason they get in there and they just get their ass beat. It's psychological. It's not physical. It's psychological. The kids go in there and they just get overwhelmed. They're not as bad as they're losing 47-14. They're a much better team than that. They're not a cupcake. Let's see. Gardner Webb 0-1 at Charlotte 1-0. Gardner Webb played. Actually, I think Gardner Webb played Georgia Southern, and they played them really tough. And Charlotte had upset Duke. First time they beat a FBS team, an ACC team at home. So big win for Charlotte. I think they'll be building on the momentum, and they'll take care of the Vernon Bulldogs of Gardner Webb. Lamar at Texas San Antonio. Lamar didn't play anybody and at all, and Texas San Antonio went up there and beat Illinois and looked good doing it too. Texas San Antonio will take care of business at home. Portland State at Washington State. Interesting game. Portland State showed one thing against the game against Hawaii. They can move the ball. They can move the ball. They can move it. They were down big against Hawaii at halftime. They were down 35-7. I think it got up to 42-7 at one point, but they never quit, and they put 35 points of their own on Hawaii. Hawaii won by 14, but Portland State moved. They showed they can move the ball. Washington State went in there and they lost against Utah State. Didn't show very much offense doing it either. So I don't know if this means that Washington State's, generally after they lose a good coach like Mike Leach, Washington State's very much like Duke. They get up to a certain level, and then that's as far as they can go, and then they just can't go very further than that. I mean, they've had some good teams in the past, way long ago, but it's a different landscape now. And Washington State is a good lower to mid-level squad. They're going to be good for 6 or 7 wins a year on a good year. Maybe pop up and get 8. With the bowling system being what it is, they get 6 wins and they go bowling. But they're never going to be a major player that's going to cause a lot of noise. Washington State, I'm going to call for the upset here. I'm going to call for Portland State upsetting Washington State. I think they have the offense to move the ball. North Carolina Central at Marshall. Marshall take care of business, no problem. They put up 49 on Navy. Yeah, it tells you all you need to know about that. Houston and Rice. Houston got an invite to they got invited to join the Big 12. We'll see if they take it or not. Could be a very interesting addition. Rice, they hung tough with Arkansas, but they got worn out and Arkansas pulled away. I see Houston winning this game. Bethune-Cookman at Central Florida. Yeah, that won't be a problem. Central Florida will blow them up. Oklahoma playing Western Carolina. Same thing with Alabama and Clemson. Oklahoma should not be playing a team like Western Carolina. They have no business playing a team like that when you're supposed to be that good. You're supposed to be a national championship team. You should not be playing cupcakes. Eastern Michigan at 1-0 at Wisconsin 0-1. Whew, tough. I don't think Eastern Michigan showed their whole hand against St. Francis. I think they showed just enough to get a win. So I think that Coach Creighton has plenty left in the playbook. But there's Eastern Michigan's going to be tough. They're going to be game, but they don't have the size to match up against Wisconsin's O-line like Penn State did. Penn State's D-line matches up well. Eastern Michigan's D-line is going to be a lot smaller, and Wisconsin will establish the run early and often, and they'll wear Eastern Michigan out. But it's going to be a dogfight. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be one of those. It's not going to be one of those 50-7 games. It's going to be like a 31-24, 31-21 type game. Eastern Michigan will hang with Wisconsin this year. Hobbs mentioned Appalachian State, and Appalachian State is visiting Miami of Florida. Miami of Florida got their ass handed to them by Alabama. I think they'll get their ass handed to them by Appalachian State too. Okay, Texas at Arkansas. Man, I don't know what it is with Texas and cupcakes. I mean, yeah, they played a decent team in Louisiana, but following up with a cupcake, man, if I was a Texas fan, I'd be really embarrassed. I'd be walking around with a bag over my head. Texas is actually favored by 7 points over Arkansas. I'm going to call better than that. I think Texas will win going away. Arkansas is not very good. And maybe Texas will start scheduling some decent teams from now on. Oh, how you like me now, Justin? How you like me now? Nichols House at Louisiana. Louisiana will not be ranked for this game. but they will rebound and they will pound Louisiana. North Carolina State at Mississippi State. Woo, two good teams. North Carolina State showed a lot and whipping South Florida. They could be a really dangerous team. It's gonna be a good old battle between ACC and SEC teams. Um, Mississippi State might have the home field advantage, but I'm calling for NC State to upset them. I'm calling for NC State to go down to Mississippi State and win. Oh, wow. Let's see. Texas State at Florida International. Texas State did not look as bad. Florida International did not look as good. But I think I'll give Florida International the home field advantage. So I think they'll win by at least 3. Southeastern Louisiana at Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech is the bridesmaid. They're the one team that every year seems to schedule a big boy, go in there and play it really close, and then lose at the end. And that's what happened with them against Mississippi State. They had a lead. Actually, they had a 10-point lead at one point, and end up losing it by a point. Louisiana Tech, boy, if they just get a couple of signature wins like that, if they could just get a couple of big wins over established teams, it could change the whole culture of the school. I mean, they've never been able to do that. They'll play anybody, but they need to start beating people. Dewey Osberger was an offensive lineman for Wisconsin. I can see that. North Texas at SMU. SMU, yeah. It's hard a game to call. Call the SMU, even though they didn't play anybody. Hampton at Old Dominion. Old Dominion on paper should have won this game. Would not be shocked to see Hampton pull up the upset, but Old Dominion should win. Grambling at Southern Miss. God, I'd like to see Grambling win this game. There's one good thing about I will say this. There's one good thing about when teams like Southern Mississippi, when they schedule teams like Grambling or Southern or Morgan State, they might get not only do they get a cupcake football field, but the real treat is these bands like Grambling. They bring their bands. Oh my gosh, their bands are the best. They're just amazing bands. Historically black college universities, their bands are so much better than anybody else's. I go to those games just to watch the bands play. Yeah, amazing. Of course, Grambling is, and the SWAC is getting a lot of attention this year because of Jackson State and Deion Sanders. So hopefully, I'm still calling for before Deion gets the hook. Jackson State will go on probation. He will not be able to play by the rules. He will get frustrated, and Jackson State will end up being on probation. Look for that to happen. But hopefully it'll help the rest of the league, though. Like Grambling needs to be a signature team. You play them, you got Coach Eddie Robinson, you got a lot of talented players. I'm glad to see Grambling is reaching out and going out and playing bigger schools again on a much more regular basis. I do think that they can upset Southern Miss here, and I'm calling for the upset. I know I'm calling for a lot of upsets, but I see it happening. Let's see. Oh no, San Jose State is off this week. They are not playing this week. That's why you have not heard me mention them. Wow, there's a lot more. There's a few more games here. I'll blow by them real quick. Hawaii at Oregon State. Oregon State will win. Idaho State, Nevada. Nevada will take care of business. Arizona State, Nevada, Las Vegas. Yeah, I'm taking Arizona State there. USC, Stanford. USC will win. Stanford's not very good. USC faced a really tough team already and won. I think they'll be ready for Stanford. BYU at home against Utah. One of the best games every year. Every year, one of the best games. Hard hitting, and if people think that Mormons are really nice people, you haven't seen these guys play football yet, because these guys, they're just as rough and tough as any Southern rivalry. It's one of the better rivalries around. Fresno State at home against Cal Poly. They proved that they could go out there and handle a big pressure with Oregon. They'll blow out Cal Poly. San Diego State will beat Arizona. Vanderbilt and Colorado State each have something both in common. They both lost to lower division schools. Colorado State got their ass beat by South Dakota State 42-23, and Vanderbilt got their ass beat by East Tennessee State 23-3. So all those pundits, all those ESPN blowhards who keep talking about Power 5 conferences, there's no Power 5 conferences. There really isn't. SEC got some really bad teams. They really do. There's a lot of bad teams on a lot of these so-called big conferences that cannot handle other teams from other conferences. Vanderbilt is vastly overrated. They should not even be playing in the SEC. I'm surprised they only keep them there to help raise their grade average. That's the only reason why they keep Vanderbilt in there. Vanderbilt is like the Stanford of the SEC. It's the smartest school in the league. If they got rid of Vanderbilt, there'd be no GPA. There'd be the level of academics would go from here down to here if they got rid of Vanderbilt, which is why they keep them. Florida State at home against Jacksonville State. Yeah, they'll take care of business. Washington at Michigan. Woo-hoo-hoo. Yeah. Talk about someone with a lot of pressure on their bonnet, and that's Washington. They lost to Montana 13-7, and now they're going to play in the big house against a Michigan team that's feeling pretty good about themselves after wiping out Western Michigan. Yeah, this is a make or break game for Washington. They lose this game, and their season's in real jeopardy. Of course, if Michigan wins, that takes a little pressure off of Harbaugh. Michigan could be poised to have a decent run this year if they get past Washington. I think Michigan has more to play for, but I think Washington will play more desperately, and I can see them pulling out like a 3-point win over Michigan. See, LSU McNeese, that's a LSU. Maryland will beat Howard. Ole Miss will beat Austin Peay. Indiana's going to blow up Idaho. Idaho won 68-0 over Simon Fraser. Indiana being as pissed as they are, I can see the same turn of events against Idaho this week. I can see Indiana winning 68. Well, maybe not nothing, but they're going to put some points. All right. Let's go to the other part that we're all waiting for. Let's go to the NFL. All right, NFL. All right. This is week 1 of the NFL. Week 1. Hey, Phil. Just talk a little football. Week 1 of the NFL is here. It kicks off Thursday. Normally, it starts off with the Super Bowl champs from the previous year battling out. Well, it got one of them. It got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are hosting the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday night on NBC. Wow. What can you say? Dallas is not good. They're not very good at all. They showed no life or fight during the preseason. They look terrible. They look really bad. They could be worse than last year. And last year they had injuries they could blame, but this year they don't have that at all. They just don't look. They don't look good at all. I definitely see Tampa taking care of business, taking control early, and winning. They're favored by 8 points. Yeah, that's about right. But I think they'll win by more than 8. All right. Sunday, the season kicks off in earnest with the Eagles visiting the Falcons. The Eagles are another team that looks really, really bad. They do not look good at all. Um, at all. They look really poor. The Falcons, they have Jameson Winston starting at quarterback. Um, Hard to say. I like the Falcons a little bit more than the Eagles. It's gonna be a tough fight. I see the Eagle. I see the Falcons pulling it out in the fourth, though. Um, it's gonna be one of those who has the ball last type of games. Next, the Steelers at the Bills. Now, everybody knows I'm a Steelers fan. Steelers are my team. Yeah, right. Well, guess what? And actually, the Bills are Justin's team, but the Bills are going to win this game. They're going to win this. They should win this, and they should win it convincingly. Actually, the Steelers are not going to be very good this year. They have a new O line they got to break in. The running game is just as shitty as it was last year. Yes, they got Najee Harris, and on paper he looks great, but you need more than just one tailback. And the other tailbacks got to come in there and at least be able to run the ball. Steelers running backs have not shown they can run the ball at all, other than Harris. This is going to force the team to throw, and I think opposite teams are going to be blitzing. They're going to be blitzing Roethlisberger a lot, and he isn't. I mean, yeah, he had a good year last year, but I don't know if his body can handle 17 games worth of blitzes, because I think that's what you're going to see. No team is going to respect the Steelers' run game until they get some their backup tailbacks come up there and show that not only can they run the ball, but they can actually gain some yards doing it. So I see the Bills beating the Steelers, and the Steelers go 0-1. Next up, you have the Vikings at the Bengals, week 1. The Bengals are going to be much improved. Though Joe Burrow was probably not 100%. He only threw one pass during the entire preseason, and I think they were just out there just to see how he feels, see how he reacts. He had such a nasty injury last year. It was such a devastating injury, and I'm sure that he is playing nervous. Who wouldn't, right? Seriously? I mean, even Joe Theismann, when he came back from that horrific injury, or Alex Smith, yeah, it takes him a little bit to get reacquainted with the game. If Joe Burrow comes out and he's able to manage if he could just be a game manager while he gets more comfortable, that'll be fine. Joe Mixon is healed and ready for a big year. I definitely like the Bengals to beat the Vikings. The Vikings are not a good team, and they're in disarray. He got the quarterback who's resistant to vaccination. I don't see them being a real team. So I'm calling for the Bengals to beat the Vikings at home in week 1. The 49ers are visiting the Lions. Yeah, the Lions are a bad team as well. They're small and they're slow on defense. They had the worst receiving core in the NFL. Some of the poorest. The running back, I thought DeAndre Swift, I don't know what it is. I don't know what the hate is. I thought he played pretty well last year, but for some reason this year, these people seem to really be on off his wagon. I'm not going to do that. I still think DeAndre Swift is a good tailback, and I think he'll show it this year. And but it's going to be a long year for Detroit fans. And it starts with the Sunday against the 49ers. The Cardinals at the Titans, 2 pretty good teams. Derrick Henry still running wild for the Titans. That's a load. That is an absolute load. And plus home field advantage. Yeah, I'm calling for the Titans to win this game here at home. Cardinals are a good team, though. They're going to be making some noise later on. But right now, the Titans have to be considered the favorite in this game. Okay. The Seahawks are traveling to the Colts. Carson Wentz is not playing for the Colts. He is out. So, um, Julio Jones is a Titan as well. Wow. So, who do you want to face? You want to face Julio Jones or Derrick Henry? Pick your poison. Titans will be a tough team. Um, Seahawks, as long as they still got Russell Wilson, they're going to be a threat. They're definitely going to be a threat. Um, he's a really amazing quarterback. Doesn't get quite the respect he deserves. Colts will be hurting too without Carson Wentz. I do think the Seahawks will have enough to beat the Colts, so I'm calling for the Seahawks to beat the Colts at Indianapolis. Next up, the Chargers with Matthew Stafford. I'm sorry, not Stafford, but Justin Herbert at Washington. Washington is my pick for the NFC wild card. For the Super Bowl. I do think Washington has enough to get to the Super Bowl. They have an outstanding defense. That defense is going to be lights out. They're going to be putting the hurt on people. They got an extremely strong team. I really like them quite a bit. You got three decent quarterbacks that all can throw the ball around. Ryan Fitzpatrick, Kyle Allen, and Tyler Heineke both can straight out ball. All three of them can throw the ball. They're going to be tough. They're going to be a very tough team, but that defense that's the magic right there. That the defense looks absolutely lights out. Trey Young, just loaded with stars, loaded with talent, loaded with speed. Going to be one for the books. Washington easily should win that division without a doubt. And like I said, they're my NFC pick to go back to the Super Bowl. I know a lot of people are going to be picking the Buccaneers, but I'm picking Washington. Jets at Panthers. Yeah. I don't know. Toss up. Toss up. The Jets don't look. The Jets don't look all that. Panthers look pretty more. They look more impressive than. They look more impressive against the Steelers than I would have liked to have seen. But yeah. Zach Wilson's going to be quarterbacking for the Jets. Rookie out of BYU. That's going to be a lot of pressure to be facing him right off the bat. I'm not a favor of starting a rookie quarterback like that. The Jets already saw what happened to Sam Darnold. It's going to same thing is going to happen with Zach Wilson. He doesn't have a good team built around them. He's gonna get beat. He's gonna get beat black and blue. It's the same thing that happened to Joe Burrow from Cincinnati. He's a great quarterback, super talented, but when you don't have a team built around him, well, things happen like that. Like he got really badly hurt, and and Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, same thing. The only quarterback that actually might survive his first year might be Mac Jones out of the Patriots because the Patriots got some talent surrounding them. So it's gonna be pretty good. But I'm gonna call for the Panthers to win this game. Jags at Texans. The Texans are just terrible. Texans are horrible. I do think there's gonna be enough. Jacksonville has enough to take care of the Texans. Trevor Lawrence will not be asked to be a world beater. He'll be asked to be a game manager until they get more talent. Next up could be an AFC title game preview. You got the Cleveland Browns. Visiting the Kansas City Chiefs. This could actually be, like I said, this could be a title game preview. Both teams are super talented. The Browns are going to challenge the Ravens for the AFC North, um, for sure. They might have an edge on them because after the Ravens lost J.K. Dobbins. Um, so yeah, I mean, what can you say? This is good for our first week matchup. This could be the game of the week, as far as I'm concerned. This is the game of the week right here. Um, this will definitely set the table for what it comes down the road next. Though another good game will be the Dolphins with all those draft choices, all that stacked roster. They are on the road against the new look Patriots. Bill Belichick, um, I think he's excited for this year. He's eager to show off that he's still a coach and that he can still coach a team up. And with Mac Jones as his quarterback, they cut Cam Newton, so they basically told Mac Jones that this is your car. It's up to you. We're driving wherever we go. You're taking us. Um, it's a shame about Cam Newton, but he really didn't want to be in New England. I guess he has some issues there, doing some dumb shit, and he got cut. He'll land up somewhere. He always, he's still young. He's only 32. Um, he'll land up somewhere. Hopefully, he can get his act together because he's still a good quarterback. Um, he just needs to be more focused. Uh, Next, we got the Packers with Aaron Rodgers visiting the Saints. Um, I don't think the Packers are Browns fall off a pickup. Yeah, let's see. Oh, you're talking. You're saying the Jets with the upset. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't see the quarterback play. I don't see it. I see the Panthers I think they're going to be I think they're going to be a little bit more. I think the defense is a lot better than the Jets. It'll definitely be a good game though. Aaron Rodgers, I don't think he wants to be in Green Bay, and I think his play will show it. I don't think he's going to be really inspired. I don't think he's going to be really driven. I think the Packers are a middle of the road team. Um, in fact, I can tell you right now, I don't know who's going to win their division. Anybody could win that division, even the Bears with their no offense. Um, Aaron Rodgers is just he's just there because of the contract. He does not want to be there. He must be rather hosting Jeopardy, and he didn't get the gig. So uh, the Saints, yeah, Jameson Winston is the quarterback. Um, Jameson Winston, if he's playing within the system, they still got Kamara a tailback. Uh, uh, they still got Latavius Murray. Um, yeah, that could be a really good Saints offense for sure. Um, if Jameson Winston does not get interception happy, um, if he plays within himself, and yeah, I could definitely see the Saints upsetting the Packers here. Next up, we have our friend Brad, Bronco Juggalo Talks Movies. His Broncos, much improved, are going to go play the Giants, who are not going to be much improved. Um, Teddy Bridgewater had won the quarterback job from he won the quarterback job from Drew Lock. I do believe that they cut Brett Ripien to sign Cam Newton. So it's going to be Teddy Bridgewater, Cam Newton, and Drew Lock as their quarterbacks. Not a bad quarterback room right there, quite honestly. All three quarterbacks are pretty effective, efficient. They can do the business. They can take care of business. So Denver's quarterback play is going to be much improved. I think that'll lead to a much better team, and I think they'll have enough to beat the Giants. I know it's a lot of road games, right? A lot of road teams. Um, then you have the Bears versus the Rams. Um, I like the Rams here. Matthew Stafford, Statty Stafford. Um, Rams have a decent team. Aaron McDonald on defense definitely makes them a prohibitive favorite for the NFC. I think they'll blow out the Bears. The Bears are not that good at all. They're really not. They've taken steps backwards. They're not very good. So I see the Rams winning this game. In fact, they actually could blow out. They could have the biggest blowout of the first week. The Bears are that bad. I can see the Rams winning like 31-10 or something like that, blowing them up. Next, we have Monday night. Wow, Monday night. We have the Ravens are traveling to Las Vegas to play the Raiders. Before the injury with J.K. Dobbins, this would be a slam dunk Raven win. But now that he's been hurt and that's missing a critical component of their team, this is now a game. But Ravens are still got to be considered the favorite here, even though the Raiders are improved. They're playing in their new house in front of their fans, and it will be noisy there. I still think the Ravens are definitely one of the three best teams in the AFC, behind the Browns and the Chiefs. So I definitely see the Ravens taking care of business here. It will be a dogfight for about a half or so, but I do think the Ravens will have enough to pull it out in the second half. All right. Well, those are my picks. How about yours? You guys can tell me by dropping if you want to tell me who your favorites are, drop a link down below in the comments. Let me know. And we'll come back here next Monday night and go over the next week's games and see how we did. All right. That's it for me. I will see you tomorrow night with young actor Adrian McKenzie on 8 Questions With. That will be at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and we will see you there. To those who hung out with me, thanks so much. And Justin, I hope you're back next week. Until the next one, peace.